Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jerred Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Kyle Schrum, Ashley Hicks, and
Hola.
Joe Courtney. Yes. There, I was waiting for Joe to say a noise.
Gracious.
Did he make a noise? I didn't even hear it.
Right.
No.
He said a noise.
Present.
I'm
All right,
blinking
so
twice.
today, this is the new 2021 thing. Don't forget, I'm going to do the pod. I'm telling myself this. Don't forget the podcast overview. So what are we covering today? The study is called Effectiveness of a 2-Week Strength Training Learning Intervention on Self-Selected Weight Training Intensity. Got to stick around to figure out what that means. Like, who knows what that means? But then we'll be going over the topic, which is tips for building a foundation and tips for beginners when they're getting started. And if you feel like you're not a beginner, you probably are. So stick around for the tips. And then lastly, we will go over the workout Fat and Sugar, which is the brainchild of Marco and I, which is a dangerous combination. So
You're not wrong.
Yes.
there we go.
Hey,
So
I mean, you started it. You were like, "Hey, check out this skateboard," and Marco was like, "It'd be really cool if we strap some rockets to it."
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I think I even said, let's take one rocket off. And now that's Fat and Sugar. So yeah, we'll talk about that workout. But let's get some updates, guys. It's been a while. We did do some, I'm going to pull a Kyle here, go behind the scenes. We did some pre-recording so we could enjoy the holidays a little bit more. So we haven't been together to record as frequently. So let's get some updates. I don't care who updates what, but
First of all, I don't appreciate the shade. So
Oh, it's always a Kyle now. It's
Chill.
whoever does it first.
So wait, instead of a Karen, it's a Kyle.
if
Oh,
you
no.
reveal some
Whoa.
behind the scenes
Oh, no.
information, it's a Kyle.
oh gosh. All right. You know what? It is what it is. Whatever.
So you're talking. What's the updates, man? How's
oh, I started talking so I could go first.
there you go.
Update this week is Hannah is on the podcast this week. Yay.
Woohoo!
I don't think that's
Is that this week?
behind the scenes. Yeah.
It's
true.
the week that this publishes.
When this drops, it will be.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Trust me.
You didn't pull a Kyle there.
No, we're good.
That's awesome.
Up this week on Thursday, my wife, Hannah, is on the podcast. She's the athlete of the week. So shameless plug for her. Go listen to her
It's a great interview.
episode.
I will
I hope
plug
she
it as
dimes
well.
you out.
Fabulous.
I believe that she does. She kind of gave me a little hint about
Oh,
what you talked about. So, but
We should always tease the athlete of the week. This is great, but this
Yeah.
one's even better because she does.
Yeah.
Spill the beans on you a little bit, if you will.
I'm,
I will say to
I'm
her
looking forward
defense,
to it.
though, it was like Jerred led to it.
Oh yeah. I have no illusions of her just offering that information. It was,
Yeah.
it's definitely pulled out of her. I understand, but yeah. Anyway, that's my update. Go listen to Hannah's episode later this week.
Great.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Mhm.
Ashley, how's life?
Life is good. Back in Florida, getting back in the groove and swing of things. So just trying to find the routine again, which I always love a good routine. And then my sister-in-law got engaged on New Year's Day. So gonna add somebody to the family. It's kind of cool. His name is Ian. And anyways, they got engaged in Mexico. And he had like,
I did
it was
that.
you proposed to Emily in Mexico?
I did.
Oh, that's sweet. Didn't know that.
In the sky.
Seriously?
We were parasailing. Yeah.
What if you would have dropped the ring?
Everyone asks me that.
That would have been
awesome. Yeah. If I would have dropped the ring, I would have lost the ring in the ocean.
Like mid-flight, did you have to like really scream?
It was. Oh, it's not loud. It's not loud up there.
Not loud at all.
It's not skydiving. It's parasailing.
You want to
that's
carry
what I
me?
thought. That's what I thought when you said in the sky. I was like, "Were you guys skydiving?" And you were like,
I was thinking it was like one of those planes that just like
tandem.
Have a banner behind it.
Yeah.
No, riding maybe.
I didn't mean to steal the show there, but yeah, it was parasailing, and I would have lost the ring had I dropped it, but I didn't.
Well,
so
thank you, Captain Obvious.
You totally won up
Anyways.
Ashley's update there. So
I know. I'm gonna call you a one up.
Well, it's not her. It's Ian. I one upped Ian.
He did.
Just lost the
I
listener.
don't know. Ian,
He'll never listen to this, so.
We'll see.
Now he will.
He like
that
hired...
engagement you did. It's totally lame. Here, listen to this. All right.
Sorry, Ian.
It's all right, Ian. Anyways, so it's really cool. They're engaged, and yeah. And then last but not least, I'm cooking my way through the Defined Dish. She's had the cookbook out for a little bit, but we're gonna pick one from each because her book is categorized by types of cuisine, so like Mexican, Asian, like comfort food, stuff like that. But anyways, really good cookbook, and yeah, that's my updates.
I love that term, cooking my way through. I think that's a cool term.
I was confused for a second.
No. Well, at first I was like, what does that mean? And then you're talking about a cookbook. I'm like, that's the best explanation of going through a cookbook ever. So it's great.
You're not reading it. I mean, you are, but when you're reading the recipe.
But who sits there and reads a cookbook front to back? You gotta cook your way through it. Kyle.
Wait, Kyle, you don't read books?
I listen to the cookbook. I get the cookbook on Audible, and I listen.
Do they even publish cookbooks on Audible?
Oh my God, that would be terrible.
That would be awful.
Trying to do a cookbook through a recipe.
Because that's why I didn't put Garage Gym Athlete, the book, on Audible, because I did record the audiobook, but yeah, a third or really more than that of the book is DIY projects.
This is how you build a box.
Yeah, and it's like, buy this many screws and then add glue here. It was super annoying even when I recorded it. Yeah. Joe, how's life?
Good, I think.
He still has his Christmas tree up because that's cool.
Yeah. It's not going away. I need to have something in my background. We just went over this in an AMA, which will be out at some point in time. I need something back there, and I can't just have a blank wall. And I just want to be festive all the time and have some sort of lighting.
I'm going to send you a stack of Killing Comfort books.
Oh, yeah? So just
to get yourself a Garage Gym Athlete banner.
Yeah, except for that's like a 3 feet of space. And so it wouldn't fit.
It would have to go on both walls.
Yeah, it would be the corner.
Yeah. Get like a mini banner.
Okay. Mini banner.
There we go. So my back is better. Because I've been saying this the last couple of weeks, having a little bit of issues. So taking deload and bit week off of no barbell, no squatting, stuff like that help. But also doing the couch stretch every night that I've been doing seemed to help, and my back's good to go. But mostly. And then next one, also I'll kind of stop bringing up my macro issues, but I'm realizing that snack time sucks when you're counting macros. I'm just like really lazy when it comes to snack time. So I just have like these mega meals because while I'm already cooking something, I might as well make it huge. But if I go downstairs to have a snack, I'm just like, I don't feel like counting you. I'm just going to wait till dinner. And then I just have like 1,000 calorie dinner. And it's like, all right, cool. I'm good.
You can weigh some nuts. You'll be just fine.
What's funny is like
you're just sitting there going, oh, there's one almond. Oh, there's one cashew. Oh, there we go.
The paradox of what you're saying is blowing my mind because it's absolute discipline of wanting to follow your macronutrient plan, but also the absolute laziness of not wanting to count. So it's like two extremes in one event. It's phenomenal what you've accomplished there.
Thank you. I'll take a bow.
My macro issues.
If anyone could pull it off, it's Joe.
Joe could. Exactly.
Take that. All the compliments. Thanks. Keep them coming. So yeah, that's us. I think we might stop in a month or two or something. We just ordered a second scale, so because dinner time can be kind of hectic, sharing a scale. But
Sorry, that's funny.
that.
We ordered a second scale.
Yeah, and then we're gonna stop.
Such exciting lives.
It's a second food scale.
Yeah, so exciting.
I use my scale for a lot of stuff, and when people come to my house who aren't on the inside, if you know what I mean, they think I'm a weirdo.
I just started using it for coffee as well.
I use it for coffee. I use it for my shake. Everything. I mean, the shake I do because if I get the proportions wrong, it doesn't taste the same. It's not. I'm not even
cauliflower.
Yeah, I'm not even tracking the macros. It's just I want it to taste good, so I measure the stuff out.
You want it to taste good?
Well, yes.
I
want it to taste consistent. I want it to taste consistent. If I were to give it to Joe, the one time I gave it to Joe, he gave it a not great review. So his exact phrase was, "Wow, there are a lot of different flavors you have going on in here."
Was that the Shake of Justice or was that your new one?
It was the Shake of Justice.
I named it.
She named it. That's my typical shake. But I used to put in everything that's in there now, but then also like athletic greens and like some other stuff. So it was just everything was in it. It was like the kitchen sink shake. Kitchen shoe. It's hard to say kitchen sink shake. It's a tough one.
Shake.
None of which are my updates, so I'll do that. I'm excited for 2021. I actually love New Year's and new goals. We talked about this kind of on the last one. I love the beginning of a new chapter because I feel like I get a little bit better at learning what's effective in life and what's not. Call it wiser. And so I just go smaller and smaller with the things that I'm trying to achieve. And this year, obviously, I have some personal goals that we talked about last time, but I'm also kind of taking a different approach family-wise with how I'm trying to lead my children and things that I'm doing with them. But again, not trying these big overhauls or programs and stuff, just small things, trying to lead them a little bit differently. So I'm excited because they are getting to, my boys at least are getting to ages where actual leadership, I think, is more important. When they're younger, it's not as important. You just keep them alive, right? Just make sure that they're alive is your primary role. And then
write that down.
Leading them becomes more necessary and shaping them. And as a lot of people listening to the podcast know who have older children, all those things are important, but I'm being strategic about it. So I'm really excited about this year. Also this year, I have a lot of travel coming up. So I'm playing the How Do I Not Get COVID game. I'll be playing that for the next couple of months. I have a trip almost every single month this first quarter. And yeah, schedules are back. I'm excited for that. My kids are back in school. Dropped them off today. And I realize this every holiday season. I don't do well with a lack of a schedule. Like I'm not built for that. Like I don't do well with just like, what are we going to do with our free time? Like I don't do well with that. So I need the schedule. I need the thing that we do. So yeah. And the last update I had was I hate construction. I gave an update on that construction project. Once something goes to the city or the county or whatever, it's kind of dumb. Like I think they're saying once we start the construction process, it shouldn't be that long. But that's the hardest part is us getting started because there'll be like one thing that like gets approved and they're like, oh, but this wasn't approved. And so then it's like, okay, we have to wait on some guy for this paper work to go across his desk, so everything's like a 3-week wait. So it's kind of absurd. I'm hoping 2021 is the year that we have it built. I don't think a small structure like this should take longer than a year to build, but who knows with how this is going. But I will keep everyone updated. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks or months, I can say they've actually broken ground on the office building.
I'm just ready to come decorate my office.
Yeah, looking forward to it. All right, let's get into the study. Like I mentioned, again, the name of the study is Effectiveness of a 2-Week Strength Training Learning Intervention on Self-Selected Weight Training Intensity. And it was done in 2020. All right, so the purpose of the study was to compare load used, repetition performed, and session RPE scores between two groups of novice lifters who performed resistance training with either prescribed load and number of reps versus those who self-selected load and reps. It was 18 women and only 2 men who had basically no training experience, I believe, right?
Shocking.
And I think this is an interesting study for a lot of reasons. And I had to read through it multiple times to kind of understand, like, what is the point of this? Like, I just don't understand what you guys are trying to do. And really they're trying to figure out, and so I'm just trying to put it in the easiest terms possible. If you just select your own weight when you're starting out, is that more advantageous, or is it better to have a coach kind of tell you a prescribed load as you train? And then they had them go over, it was 2 weeks of 6 training sessions, I think, across the 2 weeks. And they really found out, without getting to concrete numbers, they found out the people who self-selected their weights did more repetitions and less weight, so not as heavy. And then the inverse for the people who were prescribed a weight by I won't say coaches, by the scientists. And now we can just talk about our thoughts and opinions on it, because whether or not that's good, bad, or ugly, I think there's a lot that has to unpack there. So I won't get into any more of the findings or any specifics until I hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah. So just to, I guess, add to the conclusion of it, that the ones with the coaches guiding them got more strong than the people that did self-selected, but the self-selected weren't very far behind. So They both improved a lot because they're novices, but the self-selected was still good because having control when you're new, I think, can help, but it helps for new beginners to select some of the intensities. So some of the I guess takeaways for the main takeaway for me was to kind of like put those things together, have some sort of guidance for newer athletes, but loose parameters, or given the parameters, but not very specific to actual loads. And sometimes how this shows up in even like some of our training and accessory work is giving rep ranges to newer athletes, I think can be really good. And this kind of shows that, yeah, they're still selecting the weights that they're going to for their own subjective intensity and what they can handle, but you don't have a coach putting too much on you too fast, because mentally, if you beat up an athlete too quick and put them too much too fast, then they're probably just going to give up and just think, hey, maybe I'll just take up power walking and call it a day. So that was my main one, was I think giving rep ranges to newer athletes is really beneficial, and it's good. It's fine to be subjective because they can control what they're doing, still make it intense enough for where they're at. And then you can kind of go from there. And then it'll also help them from a mental standpoint as well.
So, as everybody said, both groups increased in weight. And so my thing is, beginners see progression faster. I mean, it just is natural. If you go from not weightlifting at all to weightlifting, you're going to see your numbers go up a lot faster than someone who's been doing this for a while. So I suggested that if you have the option, maybe find a training partner that has some experience to kind of help guide you, whether that, a lot of these were females, right? Because a lot of females, sometimes we don't get into weightlifting. I mean, it's just normal. We normally stick to cardio or like fun. Not that weightlifting isn't fun, but they try to cater to like, these are more like Zumba, like dancing or whatnot. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is maybe your husband or a brother or somebody can weightlift and show you kind of the fundamentals. But I actually think that it's good for someone like that to be there, just because I've personally done that with women who have never weightlifted, and they would have never put the weight on the bar had I not been there. So it's almost like challenging you, but also knowing like, okay, if she does this weight, she's going to fail, So somebody, again, that has experience, that is not going to overdo it, like Joe said, but also, can push you to potentially do a weight that you thought you could never do. But I said, since most of our listeners don't have a coach to help them, do what is safe. We don't want you getting hurt. And clearly the gains are going to come either way. So you're good there.
Yeah, and the coach part, I just want to to bridge it with the study, is I don't even know if they had like an actual trainer coach. It was just somebody observing. They observed their first set, saw how their reps were going, and then they adjusted from there. So they might have just bumped it up 5 pounds for one person, 15 pounds for another. So they were just watching what the reps were doing, and that could just be a friend of, oh, I think you can handle a little bit more, so just bump it up a little bit. So you don't need to actually like find a real coach, just somebody that has a little bit of sense of, yeah, I think you can do a little bit more and still be safe.
So something that I would like to see, it's interesting to see what they covered in this one study, but this was only 2 weeks worth of study and essentially 6 training sessions. So I think it would be cool to see like stretched out over what we would do, like over an entire cycle. Let somebody self-select their weight and self-select their intensity and their RPE and all that over an entire cycle, like either an 8 or a 12-week cycle, and just kind of see what the gains do from there. We've already said that, newbies are gonna see some gains pretty much no matter what. If you go from not doing any kind of training to doing some kind of training, you're going to see some gains. I would like to see how it would go comparing the two of having a coach kind of directing your weight, your loads, and having somebody self-select their loads and see what the difference would be over an entire cycle versus just 2 weeks. But I would also say, and this is kind of going to get into the topic for today as well, but I think in today's world, there's enough out there for somebody to kind of get started on their own, right? There's enough YouTube channels. There's enough influencers out there, and I'm not saying that the influencers are the best place to go, the be all end all, it's not all of them actually know what they're doing or talking about, but I think there's enough out there for somebody to kind of get started on their own. You know what I mean? And especially if you're going to be going to a gym and self-selecting, I think there's enough out there for you to kind of get started on your own. But I would say that at least at some point, coaching becomes more appropriate. There comes a point where to continue progressing and at least progressing the way that you should be progressing, you need some kind of coaching. At least somebody who you can be checking in with on a regular basis. If they can't be there with you in the gym, checking in with you on a regular basis, kind of seeing some videos of your lifts, making sure that you're not going to hurt yourself eventually. Because what we saw with the study here is that the self-selected people selected lighter loads, right? Lighter intensities, and did more reps. I think that's good for beginners if you're starting by yourself. I think that's good that you're not going super heavy because you're just now learning the techniques and you're learning everything about the gym and how to add your weights up and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's good that newbies are typically picking lower weights. But if you're starting out and you're not getting your technique right and you go self-selected for a long period of time, then you could be using that bad technique to lead you closer and closer to injury. And so I think there's plenty out there for somebody to get started on their own. They don't have to have a coach right away, but I think there comes a point where, all right, you've been in the gym for a little while. Let's get you somebody who can be around you regularly, checking in on you and making sure that you're not building some bad habits that are going to come back to bite you in the future.
This also makes me think of recruit, established, competitor level, all the things that we have within our programming. Right. And if you listen to the athlete briefs, sometimes, we'll give you like, if you're a recruit, maybe you should go for this. If you're established, try this. And then you can choose, I still can't do that. I need to scale back and whatnot. So I don't know. I think we utilize this as well. Jerred, what do you think?
Yeah. So specifically when I do briefs, I always brief to the competitor as the hardest to kind of tell the established and recruit athletes what not to do. And so that's why I always brief competitor, not because I am a competitor and it's biased. I just think that that's a better way to do it is I'm like, hey, you should wear a vest for this if you're a competitor, or you should go at 80% if you're a competitor. So if you're a recruiter established and you're hearing me say that you should go 80% as a competitor, you should be thinking, okay, maybe I should go less than that. So that's my strategy there. Now, as far as the rest of this, the 1 rep max that they calculated was after the fact. So they did not have anybody test their 1 rep max. What they did was they just had them lift loads and then they calculated their 1 rep max or tested it at the end, right? And then they reverse calculated their 1 rep max based off of the weights they previously lifted, which I think is very interesting. And I think this is where it gets somewhat maybe controversial is, should you take a brand new person, test their 1 rep max, train them, and then test it again? And the reason it becomes controversial is because it depends on what the person thinks a 1 rep max is. So if you have never trained before in your entire life and you come to me, I'm probably going to have you test a 1 rep max. And a lot of people don't agree with that, but it's not a true 1 rep max, like a power lifter or a 1 rep max that's going to break you. And I want to see your form break down. If I'm actually training you and you're brand new, I'm talking brand freaking new, which is not most of our athletes. I will have you test a heavy load. So that's what I have to differentiate is like, let's do a heavy 1 rep back squat, not a 1 rep max, because that phrase for some reason like scares people away. So it's just a heavy. And so I think going off of percentages is going to be king. And this is where programming matters, right? This is why we think programming matters. And in this case, they gave prescribed loads and the people were better, right? The good news is you cannot do prescribed loads and still see progress. But when you're at this bottom level of just starting, it's the honeymoon phase, right? I care very little about the honeymoon phase because in 6 sessions you're PRing. Like, come on, that's like, I can't PR anything in 6 sessions. All you're doing is you're learning how to use your muscles better. You're not actually gaining that much strength. And I think that there's a big difference there. So I think my point to all this is if you are starting, definitely, and this also, like Kyle said, we'll get into the topic, is you got to get the form right. You got to make sure that all those things are correct. So if you want to self-select weights at the beginning, you can do that and know that it's going to be okay. You will see some progress, but ultimately having a coach program something with given percentages and reasons behind that are going to be more important. But that doesn't mean your 1 rep max has to be this kill you effort attempt. Like on BCT track, we're doing a lot of training off of our training max, and training max is 90% of our one rep max, our true max. And then we're calculating our percentages based off of that training max, just because it's a little bit safer to go lighter, and we're still gaining strength and we're still getting better. So, I think you kind of have to determine where you're at in this and know that programming will always be better. But if you're not ready for it and you think safety is the bigger goal, I think that's awesome that you're that self-aware and that you should just lift off of what's heavy. But when we do this in the programming, I always try to give a parameter, because sometimes we do say lift a challenging weight, right? Like I'll put that in programming, but then I try in the athlete brief to just float some sort of percentage past the athlete. And that's really for the more experienced ones. I'll be like, okay, it says challenging weight, but it's 10 repetitions. I know 10 repetitions for established competitor, 50%, 10 reps is probably going to be, good to go. Most athletes could probably hit that. So I just use a little bit of my experience to try and float that number to athletes. But ultimately, if you have to go down to 40%, it's not the end of the world. You're going to still see some progress. It's like the goals conversation that we had last week. Just because you lifted 10% less, that doesn't mean it's like you failed. It just means you're going to see a little bit less progress, but ultimately still progress. So it's all in the right direction, right? So I think the takeaway for the athlete is just know where you're at. And if you can go off of prescribed loads, do it. But don't beat yourself up if you have to lower the weight or you're not ready for it. So we've been
just roll right into the next.
We've been talking a lot about the topic. So we're just, one thing I wrote down in my notes. It's the only thing I've written down so far off of what Kyle said. I think the new term, because I've been using it too, influencer. We've been, like I say that too. Sometimes Joe and I just recorded some AMAs and I mentioned influencers, and we're just going to start calling ourselves educators. That's it. So for everyone on the podcast, we are not influencers, not even close to it. I don't know. There are no, whatever shirtless selfies around here. There's no, use my code for 50% off at this supplement company. None of that crap. We are not influencers. We are educators. And as I mentioned to Joe on the AMA that we previously recorded, if it was only me here, I would probably just read from a textbook and the podcast would be super boring. But we have everyone else here to balance my boringness out, which I think happens. It works pretty well because you guys are more interesting people than me. I'm a fairly boring person. So we are the educators, not the influencers. And now we will educate you on what you should do if you are starting out, for beginners, foundational tips, those things in general. So what do you guys have on today's topic?
I feel like we need a team picture with like capes on and holding books or something.
We'll hold the Killing Comfort book up.
Yeah.
I'm going to get myself some glasses.
Yeah. No lenses, just the
No
frames.
lenses. No lenses, just glasses.
Anyways, I will dive into the topic. So for beginners, I said that you should start with basically use your body weight to mimic kind of movements of what you will eventually do. If you can't get down in the bottom of an air squat, pretty sure you're not going to be able to do a barbell back squat. So you need to be able to, exactly, we talked about technique, we talk about form. If you can do the technique and the form with your body weight first and then progress, and I'm not saying just throw on a barbell immediately. I also put in PVC pipe. That's how I learned a lot of movements, especially for something like a front squat. For someone who's never done weightlifting before, to keep my elbows up, I know there's lots of different ways you can do it. You can cross your arms, but to keep your chest up and get down in the squat with a barbell in the front rack can just be kind of challenging, to be quite honest. So, yeah, I think using your body weight and getting that foundation of good form before you start adding weights is great. And then the other thing that I said is start with weights that make you comfortable. So I know, speaking with working with a lot of females, sometimes a barbell is not what makes them comfortable. It's dumbbells or kettlebell, and they can do a kettlebell clean or a dumbbell clean, and that works just fine. So start there. If you feel like you just want to put 2 dumbbells on your shoulders to do a weighted squat, do that instead of using a barbell. But do what makes you feel comfortable at first, and then kind of work your way up, because you're always trying to learn. Once you're comfortable with it, don't just stay with it. Try to add and challenge yourself. And then, yeah, I said, don't feel like you have to do everything that is prescribed to a T. Scale it down. And that's kind of what Jerred just talked about. Like, if you have to do 40%, you do 40%, whatever it may be. If you can't run for 50 minutes, I know sometimes that comes up in programming and people freak out. It's okay. Get outside and move for 50 minutes, walk, run, whatever it is that you need to do. So you get the idea. Yeah, be smart about how you start, I guess.
Be smart about how you start. I like that. I like that. I'll go next, since I went ahead and commented on that. I would say one thing for newbies, don't buy all the things at first. I kind of see that sometimes. Novices, they see other people with all the stuff in their gyms. They have all the equipment, all the gear, all that kind of stuff. Don't do that. Don't go out and buy all the stuff. It's just, it'll probably wind up, I think it would kind of become overwhelming, kind of like what Joe was talking about, like throwing too much at somebody at first. I think if they have too much stuff at first, then it could become overwhelming, and then you abandon it and you just have all this stuff sitting around your house. Don't go buy all the things at first. Just start small. I would say, echoing kind of what Ashley said, get good at the unsexy stuff. A lot of people like to use the weights, the barbell, that's the sexy movement, the kettlebell, that's the sexy stuff. Get good at the accessory stuff, get good at the body weight stuff. Like what Ashley said, if you can't get in the bottom of an air squat, don't even think about touching a barbell. Like you don't even need to touch it. And I would also say, and this is coming from personal experience, get solid programming. Which probably means you need to pay for it.
Pay for GarageGymAthlete.com.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Exactly. Speaking from personal experience, I mentioned, all the stuff that's out there, all the YouTube videos, all the different websites you can be a member of, all the blogs you can follow, all that kind of stuff. I did all of that stuff. I got all the free information I could get. Even had a gym that I could use for free. A buddy of mine had a gym in his garage. I was using it for free, just using the free stuff I got on the internet. I would print it off and I would take it to the gym with me. and all that kind of stuff. And part of that was just my failure to implement. Part of it was there wasn't enough accountability built into it for me to actually stick with it. And so I would say get good, solid programming from somebody that knows what they're doing, which means that you're going to have to pay for it. And if you pay for it, you will value it more. It will build in that accountability because you're actually spending money on it. And so get something that's good and solid that's going to point you in the right direction from the get-go. Even if you're not like paying for a coach, that's okay. But if you're paying for programming, that means that a coach is writing it and they're going to have at least some idea of what they're doing. So get good, solid programming from the get-go.
So going back to your don't buy all the stuff thing, I think thinking for myself and a lot of other people, I think people go through when you get into fitness, like a bell curve of like crap that you acquire. Like at first you're just going to start off. And once you actually get going, you're just like, yeah, I think I need everything. I think I need to wear everything. I think I need to take these pill packs because that guy on the front is jacked. And then after a while,
you've got 3 pairs of shoes at the gym with you.
Yeah, exactly. And you got a whole bag, a whole like King Kong bag of like of junk that you're just like, I don't even open that thing anymore. I don't need any of this. So just skip the bell curve and just don't do it.
My favorite is like the weightlifting shoes, and they walk into the gym no matter what they're doing with weightlifting shoes on. I've seen someone run on a treadmill with weightlifting shoes on. Hashtag Air Force Gym. Anyway, sorry, Joe. Keep going.
Yeah. So the first is, so I'm going to kind of apply this to new people in general and also new for us. Programming is whatever program you're doing, make sure you're knowing the intent of the things that you're doing, whether it's a program or even just exercise that you're picking up. Know why you're doing what you're doing and not just like you saw somebody do it. And I know it might be hard to like, you actually have to learn a little bit. You don't need to learn a ton, but just know why or what you're doing. And what I mean is like when we do our briefs for the workouts, if we're doing some conditioning, we'll usually tell you, okay, you just want to be able to sustain this for a while to work on your sustainability conditioning, or if we are doing dynamic efforts, like, oh, you're gonna lift this weight, but you're not just lifting it, you want to lift this weight fast. So whatever fast is for you, make sure you're doing it at whatever weight that you can do it at. So make sure you're knowing some kind of intent to think about. And we've even gone over studies in the past of how mentally connecting to what you're doing and being dialed into what you're doing versus just going through the motions. And I think it might help you be more invested versus, because you're not going to see results like super, super fast. So if you're just doing things, you're just like, why the hell am I doing this? Well, I don't think I need to do this. Maybe I should just do something where I go sweat for a little bit. So try and know somewhat of an intent of what you're doing. And as far as baselines, getting into strength and building from there, I think stability work is super important. Whether it's they've already mentioned not using the barbell, which I think is fairly smart depending on where you're at. Dumbbells are great, but get into banded works, especially even for warm-ups or as like a final thing that you do for your workouts that day is like do some high rep banded works to really work on your stability. Lifting a band and moving a band doesn't look sexy. It doesn't look all that great, but you're going to feel it and it's going to be fantastic for you because that stability does so much for you in the long run for injury prevention, to help be stronger, more explosive, everything. This is why I think ring dips are just far superior for any sort of other dips they're like static dips that you do. And when I was first lifting, even though this is just luck of the draw, I only picked up dumbbells because I didn't want to touch a barbell because I couldn't put much weight on it anyway. So I'm just going to stay over here by the dumbbells. But that actually turned out being pretty good. And Jerred kind of said before about not maxing out, do a heavy one, not a full max out. And also, this is just to connect one of our past AMAs. If you're guiding a new person or you are the new person yourself, maybe don't get on an Airdyne and sprint as fast as you can because you're probably not going to come back to it or that person or that gym.
It's an energy systems lesson.
Yeah. This one's bad. What is that one? I don't want to do that.
Why did that make me throw up?
Yeah.
All right. I want to echo what Kyle and Ashley said about adding weight, like what you should do before you add weight. I think weight is like alcohol and money. If you make $1,000 a month and you donate $0 per month, that's what you do with money. So if you get $10,000 per month, I don't think that you're going to all of a sudden turn into a donator. You know what I mean? Like more money doesn't make you better. It's just going to magnify who you already are. Alcohol. If you get drunk and you're a jerk, you're most likely just a jerk. And alcohol removed some of those things that you know, those, what do you call them? The facade that you carry on about your normal daily life to where you actually are a jerk, and the alcohol just helps you become who you really are. Hopefully I have not offended anybody with those two examples, but weight is the same way. So weight magnifies deficiencies. So if you want to add weight to a squat and your squat sucks, all weight's going to do is really point out those deficiencies and maybe break some of them. And so you want to make sure that you have really perfect form. The amount of time I personally spent, this is after I had been training already for, I don't know, let's say 7 to 10 years. Then I got more into functional fitness. The amount of time I spent on perfecting the new functional movements that I had not been doing is hilarious. Like a lot of time in my living room with a PVC pipe, practicing over and over. I remember I was in college when I first started deadlifting, and I spent a Saturday deadlifting in my living room by myself with a PVC pipe, watching videos. I'm talking about a Saturday, not like an hour, a Saturday, the whole day, and still perfected that with weight going incrementally, more and more. And my form is pretty good on most lifts now. If you see any videos of me lifting, or if you train with me, you'll see that my form is pretty good. But that wasn't some natural thing. You know, I'm just good at it. It was a lot of work, and it has been a lot of work. And I still focus on those things. Like when I post videos of me squatting now, we've kind of talked about this. People tell me I can go heavier, right? They're like, you could probably lift more weight. I'm like, no, if I lift more weight, my knees are going to dive in, or, you know, my back's going to be out of position. Something won't be right. And I know it. If I add 5 more pounds to this, I know my form will break down. And that's kind of my threshold. So I'm always trying to maintain really good form, even when I'm going to those upper levels. So spend an absurd amount of time getting things right is my first bit of advice there. It's okay. I think so. Kyle mentioned Hannah's episode coming out later this week. I think everybody should listen to Hannah's episode, but especially females who are intimidated in the gym need to listen to Hannah's episode, because she talked about just being in the basement and how relieving it is to be able to like just watch a video or do whatever and get things perfected and dialed in without having to feel judgment of other people. I never really felt that when I was a gym goer, because I just didn't care. But I know it's different. Like women feel a little bit out of place sometimes if they go over to the weight room, right? Like it was up until the 1950s where women had to ask permission to enter the weight room or something stupid like that, right? So I see where the psyche could come from, but all that's gone, right? So everyone deserves to be where you're at. So never feel stupid if you're sitting there trying to practice something with just a barbell or just a PVC pipe. You need to make sure that you're getting it right, and that you need to be safe. That's the paramount rule number 2 of Garage Gym Athlete, right? Is don't die. And that just really goes in line with being safe. And it is the second rule. It's not the first rule. So there's that. And then
we don't talk about the first rule.
We don't talk about the first rule. I know the first rule, but
the first rule too.
Okay. So the second thing I have is base building. I wish I would have done a lot more of this when I started out. And so this would be my tip for people getting more involved, or people, if you're less than 5 years into your fitness journey, you're still pretty much a beginner. And that's why I said at the beginning of the podcast, you should probably listen to these tips no matter what, because everything I'm talking about right now is not for, I'm not talking to the people who are in the study, who've never lifted a day in their life and then they get thrown into this study. I'm talking to people who've been training 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, like I had when I decided that I was going to perfect my movement. I was already well into this. People would have thought like I was a really advanced training age, but I still knew things weren't perfect. And so if you feel like things aren't perfect, take it back and get it perfect. But then the base building part that I wanted to mention is with building a base level of strength and base aerobic endurance. So going slow and long on aerobic training, I think is something that you need to do. We talk a lot about zone 2. You need to be doing a lot of that stuff. Just running harder and faster is not the answer for speed. It's not the answer for building the aerobic base. I thought it was for a long time. And I was always capped out on my aerobic potential because I was doing it wrong for such a long time. So you need to build that base in aerobic conditioning. So doing those slower runs, zone 2 type stuff, very important. And then also the same with strength. We're talking a lot about barbell work. Joe mentioned starting with dumbbells. I think that's phenomenal. Like starting with a dumbbell or kettlebell or just a barbell and doing some hypertrophy work. So just building a really strong muscular base before you get into more the heavier things, I think is a really good idea because you learn how to control your muscles better. Like that's all that old man strength is. I'm sure I've talked about this a lot over the years, but old man strength is just neuromuscular coordination. When you were a kid and your dad was stronger than you, he's just an older, wiser dude. He knows how to move his muscles and control them better than you do just because he's been around longer and he knows how to control his muscles better. And I thought that was crazy because I started lifting at a pretty early age and I was quote unquote stronger than my dad, but I couldn't open a jar of pickles like he could, right? There's like stupid little old man strength things. And it's just because you know how to move them better, move your muscles better and control them. So that's something that I think with just using dumbbells or just building muscle is something that's incredibly beneficial because it helps you learn to use your muscles better before you start trying to exert something like dynamic effort, speed, or maximum effort where you're going really heavy. So those are all of my tips, tricks, and ideas. That's it. That's all I got.
It's good. I think it's good too, because when you're talking about learning later on, sorry, CrossFit, but I had bad technique back form and I had to relearn. And I think it's so much harder to get those bad habits out. So the people who have lifted for forever, it is way harder if you learn wrong and then have to teach yourself over.
Yes.
Coming from experience.
Bad movement patterns are very hard to fix, especially if there's no mirror or you're not doing video. You might just think that you're doing it the right way, but you're doing it the wrong way every single time. And
100%. I used to look like a turtle.
Yeah. A lot of garage gym athletes hate on mirrors. I will never put one officially in my garage gym, but they are helpful.
I've thought about it.
Can't look and do at the same time. I'll just video.
Yeah, I like the video.
It depends on the movement.
I like the video too, but
I mean, I guess you could. I mean, deadlift. Why can't you look and lift at the same time?
I feel like I need to be thinking about what I'm doing in my body versus what I'm doing in the mirror.
Well, you don't use the mirror for max efforts. That's you go to a special place for that kind of stuff.
A special place? Yeah. Do you ever whenever you go to do your hair in the mirror, do you ever when you need to do something precise, you oh, I need to adjust this, and you move your hand the wrong way? I feel like that's what I'll do in the mirror. Oh, I need to adjust this. Shit, the wrong way.
I do that on Zoom a lot, not in the mirror.
Yeah.
I think Joe just gets distracted by himself in the mirror, and it's just counterproductive.
No,
I never know which way is which on that.
I'm with Joe on this one. I don't like the mirror. I don't know. I've lifted in a bro room because that's what you got to do sometimes when you're on base. And I don't like it. So I just find a point like a wall or something, and that's what I'll look at. And it.
I'm the weird guy that everybody's facing the mirror. I'm the weird guy that turns around and is facing
exactly. Yeah.
You're looking at everybody else while they're lifting.
Yeah.
Awkward.
I'm the same way. I'll turn the bench around because all the benches are always lined up in front of a mirror. So if I have to do any of that mess, go around.
Yeah. Scott and I, when we were doing side planks when you were here, we were facing each other on the side planks. It was my fault. So we both were doing side planks.
Picture that, Ashley.
I was doing side planks, but facing opposite of them.
we were both doing side planks, facing the same way. So we're both on our right side, pointing the same direction. But then when it was time to switch, I flipped my body over this way to go left, and he rotated, which is the smarter decision. And now we're staring at each other during a side plank. And
I mean, hey. Deep combo.
Joe's saying that's what he likes to do. So.
Oh man. Should we get into the workout?
Yeah. Joe's briefing it.
Yeah. All right. So fat and sugar. So there is a no heart rate monitor version of this that we have up that we'll have on programmed in the app. But I'm going to read the heart rate version, and that is you're going to do 8 minutes in zone 2 of a run, row, or bike. So zone 2 is 60 to 70% of your max heart rate. And then after the 8 minutes, you're going to do 2 minutes at zone 4. In case you aren't good with numbers, there is a zone 3 in between 2 and 4. So you're going to do 2 minutes at zone 4 of burpee pull-ups. So recording your reps of the 2 minutes, and you will accumulate 100 burpee pull-ups. So that means if you get 20 done in the first 2 minutes, then you have to go back to the 8 minutes of zone 2. Then the 2 minutes, count up your reps, and you will do that sequence circuit and repeat that until you get 100 burpee pull-ups. Competitors wear a 20-pound vest. And then after you get the 100 burpee pull-ups, you rest 5 minutes and tally up. After a 5-minute period, tally up how many minutes you spent outside of 2, 4, and 5. So that means 3. and that's how many for every 1 minute you spent in 1 or 3, you will do 10 penalty burpees.
Does this say penalty burpees on there?
It does in my mind.
It should.
Joe is seeing what he wants to see.
It is possible to do this workout with no burpees at the end.
You're gonna need
because it's a minute.
Taser.
It's a minute, right? So it's a minute. So you could spend 58 seconds in zone 3 in your transitions.
Have you done it without having to do burpees?
That is irrelevant.
It
is technically possible. No, I haven't. I have not done it, but I aspire to it.
So maybe if like you do this like during the Halloween time when they have those like haunted corn mazes, you're running through the corn maze, and right at 8 minutes, somebody jumps out and scares you, and it's like, all right, cool. Now I got to do these. Yeah, heart rate's up. There.
Going to 2 to 4 is the easy part. It's going back down to 2 that is the hard part with skipping zone 3. I mean, I do remember the first time I did it, I didn't do that many burpees at the end though. Like it wasn't like a lot of minutes. So I know some people that's not true. I know some people are reporting like 100 burpees and stuff, which is funny.
The first time I did this workout, my wearable failed.
Kyle's face when I said it was funny.
It's well, it was not funny. I was very pissed off after this workout.
I love heart rate workouts in general for that reason.
I hated it.
Such a great mental test if your heart rate monitor messes up. Because it's me too. I'm not throwing shade on anybody. I get super pissed off if my heart rate monitor does not cooperate. Like I'll start getting pissed off because I just know I'm not in that zone. Like I was on we talked about it when I first got the Garmin, and I was trying to rely only on the wrist, and I'm on the bike going as hard as I can. Like I feel like I'm about to vomit, and it's like, good zone 2 work. I'm like, no, it's not. This is not zone 2 work at all. But yeah, heart rate monitors can be frustrating.
It's because you need one of those bikes with the heart rate monitor in the seat.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Not again.
The crotch monitor.
Anyways, to my ladies out there, 14-pound vest, not 20. So I feel like I need to go through all the Meet Yourself Saturdays and like do the female competitor level weights.
You're just the woman for the job.
Sounds like you volunteered.
I said I would do it. Anyways, I said accept the burpee penalty. Make sure, that was the other thing about this. Make sure your vest is strapped down. My vest was hitting me in the back of the head for the first set of burpees, but I didn't want to stop. So there was a bruise back there. And then I finally strapped it down while I was zone 2 running, aka yogging. Silent J there. And then the tunes for this would be Linkin Park, In This Moment, or Architects. You're welcome.
So rule 2 at Garage Gym Athlete is don't die, but concussions are okay.
Not a real rule.
Not a real rule. So we already covered the heart rate monitor thing. That was one of my points. Make sure you've got a good one. I've talked extensively and extensively.
Yeah, it's both.
On
the Fitbit.
On my Fitbit troubles. So
when's your birthday? We need
we're gonna get together here as a team.
Yeah.
It's in November, so
man.
We got time to save up.
We'll give him
We
a
got time.
Valentine's Day gift or something.
Did we wish him happy birthday?
I don't think we did.
I put it out there, but nobody responded. Anyway,
Oh.
I was gonna say that this workout should be a little different with the new MAF zones, the new MAF zones.
That's what I was going to talk about. Yeah.
Gonna let Jerred cover all that. I was just gonna throw it out there that I do know.
You feel free. Yeah.
That's there. And then I would say the most important part here in this workout would be the burpee pull-ups. You need to get them done as fast as you can. So I would say it's music. Listen to music that keeps you pumped up for burpee pull-ups. Don't worry about the zone 2 stuff. Get something that's going to keep you amped for those burpee pull-ups because that's the important part. So
I found a new music strategy.
Oh no, here we go.
Oh, this is good.
Strap in.
I just tried it last night for the first time. So I don't know if this is something I'll continue to do, but BCT, there are a lot of intervals. And so I just went to Pandora and I have a workout radio station.
Yeah.
And I just did a new song every interval. And there were 20 something intervals last night. So a bunch of different songs, but I would never finish a song. It would be a new song, fresh new music every single interval.
Why?
I told you it's a new thing. Just trying it out.
Called a power hour.
Yeah, I just need I need enough of that song to get me motivated, but then after we're done. All right. Next artist. And
you only have 30 seconds rest before you go back to your 30 seconds.
Exactly. But that song's spent. It's not getting me motivated the same way the first song was.
Oh my goodness. Well, what about songs with long intros?
Skip. Yeah, I think Metallica came on. Don't they have really long intros?
Some of their songs too.
Yeah, it started and I was like, I'm 45 seconds in, you haven't even done anything. So skip.
Boring.
Oh.
It was probably Harvester of Sorrow or something. It's actually on my playlist. It's for lifting though, not intervals.
All right, so I was going to talk about MAF. If you have done your maximal aerobic function heart rate, which is not going to be a lot of the athletes listening to this. If you have used a spreadsheet though, and you do have those, this workout just got a lot harder for you. Not really because of the zone 2. What's cool about the new MAF heart rate zones, if it did make an adjustment for you, and that's not true for everybody, is your zone 2 gets a little bit higher, which is cool because you can do more work while maintaining zone 2. But what sucks about it is it raises your zone 4. And that's where I'm at, and basically hating most BCT aerobic workouts now where we touch zone 4, because my zone 4 got bumped up quite a bit to where I'm like, this is really freaking hard to get into zone 4. I'm spending a lot of time in zone 3 when otherwise I would not have. So I think I might get my ass handed to me on this workout because of my new zones, but I'm going to try it out. So that's not really advice. It's just here it's coming. Good luck if you're doing the MAF zones. Other than that, I would say recovery. We have covered it on the podcast. Laying on your side in the fetal position is the quickest way for heart rate recovery. That's not a joke. That's actually science. We covered a long time ago. So I would say after your zone 4 burpee pull-ups, lay down fetal position and just try and recover quickly to get back down into zone 2. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm just your time is ticking by though. You've got that 8 minutes, but whatever.
Yeah, you're jumping straight into 8 minutes, right?
Yeah, but if you're in zone 3, the 8 minutes hasn't begun. You know what I mean?
What?
It's 8 minutes of zone 2.
That's not how I did it, which is probably why I had very many burpee penalties the last.
I thought it was just you go into 8 minutes and
basically
when you get into zone 2, you get into zone 2.
Start.
So why would there be a zone 2 designation if you're just in zone 3 the whole time?
To get back down to it, which is what I thought was the whole point. Trying to
None of us have done this workout correctly.
Apparently not.
Well, you're not doing it wrong, but if you're trying to avoid the penalty, you want to just okay.
That's cheating.
It's not really cheating. Okay, let's talk about
this. Is why he's never had the penalty burpees.
I have. I said I've never actually done it without
the penalties
burpees.
Are still the same.
But if you are taking like 4 or 5 minutes to recover, I retract or redact that advice. I'm talking about if it's only going to take you 15 to 30 seconds to get back to zone 2, which I think is a healthy amount of time for only 2 minutes of zone 4. I would get back down into zone 2 as fast as I can and then go.
All right. I'll give myself 15 to 30 seconds before I start this time.
Yeah. And I do completely
I'm
retract
still going to
that.
have 100 burpees to do.
Same.
I do completely retract that if it's taking you like 4 or 5 minutes for heart rate recovery, then it is defeating the purpose. Like you're hosed. So
you're just taking a nap at that point.
Yeah. We'll give you a blanket. Oh, I should have saved this for my update. Can I do it now? And then we can end it?
Yeah, go for it.
So
Ashley says yes. So
Emily and I, we bought a weighted blanket.
She hates it.
So she told you about it.
She did.
Of course she did. Wow.
Okay, so
you're not going to
Ashley
believe
could do this
what
update
Jerred
for you.
Someone sent it to me. I sent it to her, and she bought it right away, which is not normal. And I was like, okay, I guess she really wanted that. So we got the weighted blanket. But a normal weighted blanket is about 8 to 10 pounds.
Yep.
This was a 25-pound weighted.
Yep.
And I love it. She hates it, so we don't use it because I tried using it on just my side of the bed, and blankets don't work like that. Anyway,
Well, if you fold it in half, it'll be a 40-pound blanket.
Exactly. It
50,
was too much when I tried it that way. But it is a brutal blanket. That's all I have to say. That was
Get out of bed's real chore now.
Yeah. No, it's funny how heavy it is. I asked if we could put it on, because Scott and Ashley stayed with us. I asked if we could put it on their bed.
What?
And I just wasn't going to say anything and see what you guys said the next day. But Emily was like, she said that wasn't nice, so I didn't do it.
Oh, lame.
It
was already a weighted blanket, if you will. There was like 2 quilts, a comforter, a sheet. We had to like kick off all the things.
In cold Texas winters.
Yeah,
it was
down to like
actually
30.
cold.
So anyway, if you guys want to try a weighted blanket, those were the 2 nights.
Jerred will ship you one.
I was gonna say, takers.
Well, that's what we were going to return it, but there are little clause in the thing is you have to pay return shipping, and return shipping on a 25-pound blanket. Might as well just keep the damn thing, right? So
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully everyone.
No one's listening at this point, so
It's just
I
for
could probably
us.
just stop recording. Okay, well, if you are still listening and you're not one of our athletes, go to garagegymathlete.com and sign up for a free trial. That would be awesome, because then you'll be doing our training and you'll be a better human. As we talked about today, the real takeaway in the study is programming matters, and you're going to see more progress if you're following programming. So do that. But that's it. That's all I have for ending announcements. All of our athletes who are following the programming, welcome to 2021. Crush it this year and try harder than you did last year. That's all I got. Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.